Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt. Now it's time for you to discover your legal issue blind spots by listening to me talk about the law on the radio. Today it's Sunday afternoon at 4:30. Did you know that Talk Law Radio has another show Saturdays at 11 o'clock in the morning? Also, if you miss a show, you can find recorded episodes on podcasts everywhere, Facebook, YouTube, and talklawradio.com. There's other episodes from the Saturday show that you might be interested in. We talked about year-end tax planning with Anna Cruz. We talked about the Town Twin Village with Mark Wittig. We talked about long-term care insurance, what it is and how to use it with George Torres and Sonny Espinoza. And of course, our Financial Focus segment on Saturdays is sponsored by Joseph Warren and Financial Planning HQ. So check out those shows because you're missing out if you're not listening on Saturdays as well. Today's going to be a great show. I'm going to be talking about what to expect when you meet with an estate planning attorney generally, a new planning opportunity for those who itemize their income taxes, and legacy. Before we get started talking about the law, let's begin with prayer. Dear God, thank you for this day. Thank you for all the gifts and blessings that you give to us. Please forgive us of our sins, for our mistakes, for doing the wrong thing or failing to follow your will. Help us to follow your will more closely. And help us to do everything we do, Lord, for the good of your people, for our own good, and for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen. First, I want to tell you about a middle-aged man who recently picked a new primary care physician. You know, some primary care physicians, they retire, or they move to another city, or they just move to another practice. After 2 visits of exhaustive lab tests, fairly well, the middle-aged man was a little concerned about the comment that he was only doing fairly well for his age. So the middle-aged man couldn't resist asking him, "Doctor, do you think I'll live to be 80 years old?" The doctor asked, "Well, do you smoke tobacco or drink beer or wine?" "Oh, no," the man said. "I've never done either of those." Then the doctor asked, "Do you eat ribeye steaks or barbecued ribs?" The man said, "No way, I've heard that all red meat is very unhealthy." The doctor asked, "Do you spend a lot of time in the sun, like playing golf, sailing, ballooning, or rock climbing?" "No way, that's too dangerous," the man said. Well, then the doctor asked, "Do you gamble, drive fast cars, or fool around?" "No," the man said, "I've never done any of those things either." The doctor looked him straight in the eye and said, "Then why in the world would you want to live to be 80 years old?" So today I'm going to be telling you about generally what to expect in a consultation with an estate planning attorney. Now, Marquardt Law Firm sponsors the show, and attorneys at Marquardt Law Firm focus on business and estate law, including last wills, living trusts, and tax-protected inheritance plans. So attorneys at Marquardt Law Firm do estate planning, but you don't have to go to Marquardt Law Firm to get your estate planning done. If you have another favorite attorney, or if you've never been to an attorney and you're scheduled to meet with one, I won't know all the specifics because attorneys do things their own way. They do it however they want. There's no uniform method. I only know how I do it, and so that's what I'm going to be talking about. So why would you even go to an attorney? Well, there's value there, and it reminds me of when I was a kid. The doctor that saw kids Actually, it was a married couple. But they were both physicians. They had the family practice together, and they divided their office, and the entry had 2 doors. And one door was for wellness checkup, and the other door was for if you're sick or ill. They didn't want the well people sitting in the waiting room with the sick people, I guess. And so I kind of think of estate planning the same way. If you're just checking up on your estate plan to see if there's any new laws that have been passed, or if you're just unsure because a long period of time has passed since you signed your last will or living trust a long time ago, generally the estate planning attorney is going to want to discuss your goals and concerns, review your documents, and discuss changes in the laws since your plan was last signed. Now, the sick visit is sort of the same as if you already know that you want changes to be made. But again, the attorney's probably going to talk to you about your goals and concerns, discuss your family and your finances, because there might be changes within your family dynamics. Who's getting along, who's disgruntled, who's estranged, who's in jail, who's divorced, who, God forbid, passed away too soon. And then the attorney's going to want to understand how the plan works with current laws. So the attorney is going to want to understand you. But before I move on, I want to remind you, why does Todd Marquardt love Talk Law Radio? Because in the beginning, God had one law: don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then he gave Moses the 10 Commandments. And now we have municipal, state, and federal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws that might impact you without you knowing it. So tune in to Talk Law Radio, where I talk about changing laws, I talk about opportunities in the law, and I talk about problems that people fall into just because they don't know the law. So if you're sitting around the table on Thanksgiving Day with your family and your friends, tell them, have you heard about Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt? You should really listen to this, because he helped me avoid a hidden legal issue blind spot, or he told me about an opportunity that might help me get ahead in business, or help prepare my family for what might be coming. Back to what to expect in a meeting with an estate planning attorney. Now, you're probably going to call the office, email somebody on the staff or the attorney, or you're going to chat online on their website. When you do that, expect for somebody to ask you what your name is. Now, you might think that that's silly, but some people think they're going to call into the attorney right away, not even identify themselves, and just get all the information they ever wanted to know about estate planning, last wills, living trusts, and tax-protected inheritance plans. But the reason that it's important for you to give your name to the law office is because attorneys are not allowed to represent opposing parties unless there's some exception. So a good law office will always want to know who you are so that they can check their system and see if there's any conflicts. Expect for the receptionist to ask you for your phone number, email address, and mailing address. A good law office will want to contact you before you have your meeting with an attorney to remind you of the appointment. Because if you miss an appointment, it's a lost opportunity for the law office, the attorney, and the staff. Now, in between the time when you're waiting for your appointment, you scheduled your appointment, you're waiting to meet with somebody, it's good to think about that if there's no charge for that meeting, please remember that a lawyer who spends time with you at no cost to you is doing so at a great personal sacrifice. They're not being paid. It's like community service. So respect their time and bring your ideas and your concerns to the meeting. If you don't want to be there, then don't make the call. The purpose of the initial consultation is for you to determine if you want to hire the law firm to represent you and give you advice. If you want the law firm to represent you and give you advice, then you'll sign a representation agreement, pay a retainer, and then the law firm will give you that advice and perform the legal representation. You might think about these questions ahead of time. What factors are important to you when considering whether to hire a law firm to represent you and give you advice? Who will be paying your retainer fee? How is this legal issue or concern affecting your life? Now, attorneys are different, like I said, about how they run this process and about how they conduct their meetings. Some office consultations will take 15 minutes. It might even be over the phone or by Zoom or other video conference. It might be 30 minutes or an hour. The attorney wants to know some information about you in order to develop a comprehensive plan. Some attorneys are just order takers. They're there just for you to tell them, for them to tell you what they want. They're going to rely on you. Those attorneys don't cost very much. Then there's the legal advice giving attorney. Now, those attorneys cost more, but they're going to give you a more comprehensive service. So the attorneys that are going to give you legal advice and more comprehensive service are going to want to know things about you, because it's not all just cookie cutter stuff. You know, we're all different. We have different families, we have different dynamics, we have different goals and objectives. We have different kinds of assets that we hold, that we invest in. We have different retirement plans, different retirement accounts. We have different levels of income and different net worth, and all of those things matter. Some attorneys will allow you to bring somebody who you trust, who you rely on to help you make important decisions to the consultation. Other attorneys forbid that. So you need to know up front whether you're allowed to bring somebody to the meeting or not. What personal and family information is necessary for a productive consultation? Marital status, who is the title owner of each asset? Are there joint owners? Are there beneficiary designations? Your family dynamics are important in the assessment of an individual case and better enables the attorney to answer legal questions that are unique to your situation. Some people like to play rapid fire questions. They don't want the attorney to ask any questions. The prospect client wants to ask all the questions. And so they do it in rapid fire succession, and the attorney can answer those questions to the best of his ability, but if he has no information or context about where these questions are coming from, he can't give a fully developed answer. So you should know that maybe this consultation, if it's free or if you paid for it, you might not have time to answer all of those questions, might not have enough information at that time to answer those questions. And so usually estate planning is not one single meeting. It's a series of meetings. It's a series of steps. At our law firm, at Marquardt Law Firm, we have a process where we work with the client in crafting and developing and designing a comprehensive plan and solution. Now you're probably wondering, how much does this cost? And every lawyer should tell you that it depends, because if they charge the same thing to everybody, then they're not evaluating the case correctly. So that's sort of an overview of what the first meeting might look like. If you don't know what concerns you have, then this might be an exploratory session where the attorney asks you some questions of what other clients concerns have been, and do you share that same concern or not? Most people say, well, I don't have a will, and on TV they say everybody should have a will, so that's why I'm here, to get a will. Well, that sort of falls under the category of a desire to get your affairs in order and create a comprehensive plan to manage your affairs in case of disability or death. So that a lot of people have that concern. Some people worry about what it's going to be like if they're not around. If I'm married and I'm disabled or I'm deceased, how is my wife going to be taken care of? How are the finances going to be protected for her? And vice versa, if for a wife and a husband, usually the husband dies first. That's just statistics. So that's why I always use him and her and husband and wife in that way. Then they usually say, after we're both gone, we want to protect the children. We want them to receive their inheritance, and we don't want too many problems to happen. We don't want them to have to go through legal proceedings. We don't want it to be difficult for them to gain access to those assets. And we don't want anybody to take away their inheritance, like government confiscation, taxes, economic downturns, business setbacks, frivolous litigation, or divorce. They might want to provide and protect their grandchildren in the same way. Some people, on the other hand, might specifically want to disinherit a family member because they've taken so much during their lifetime, or they're missing or can't be found or haven't called in years or decades. They might want to provide for charities. They might have a family business that they want to turn over to the family, or they might have a family business that they want the other owners to take over and provide financially for the beneficiaries. They might want to reduce estate taxes, death taxes, inheritance taxes, capital gains taxes. They might want to avoid probate and other legal proceedings. They might want to reduce the administrative cost of administration of your estate after your death. But death isn't the only thing that we worry about. How do you want to be taken care of if you're disabled or incapacitated? How do you avoid conservatorship or guardianship in case of your disability? If you already think that people are going to contest the will because you're providing an unequal distribution of assets among various beneficiaries, or if you think they're just going to complain because you left them out, there might be things that you can do to avoid or reduce the likelihood of lawsuits or disputes. You might want to help protect lawsuits and creditors of those beneficiaries that you're planning to leave a legacy for. So those are just some of the concerns that typically come up. And you might have other different concerns, and the attorney should be happy to discuss those and really try and understand how it's affecting your life. Now I'd like to switch gears and talk about an income tax opportunity available to those who are itemizing their taxes. Have you heard of the state income tax deduction? SALT, state, and what does the L stand for? I forgot. It'll come to me. So there's this deduction for people that have high taxes other than federal income taxes. And it could show up in Texas, even though we don't have an income tax, if you have a multi-million-dollar home and if you earn over $500,000 annually in gross income. That's when the SALT deduction starts to get reduced. If you have income-producing assets, in addition to your wages and your profits from your business, if you have interest income and dividend income, there's an opportunity to work with an estate planning attorney who knows about a certain kind of trust that can help reduce that type of income so that you can maximize the SALT deduction. I also wanted to talk about legacy. This past Veterans Day reminded me of my mom's dad. We called him Gran, and he passed away when I was very young because he had pancreatic cancer, and there was hardly any treatment for that. And so after they discovered his cancer, he didn't live very long. But my grandmother told me about him, and my mom did too. And I have this cutout from the newspaper, his obituary, that I keep as a reminder of a veteran that I knew personally. And so it says he served with the 2nd Division, 48th Infantry Regiment, Company B, in the Korean conflict. He was wounded and received the Order of the Purple Heart, Army Commendation Medal, and numerous other decorations. So after that injury, my grandmother and my mom told me that he lost a dear friend in some type of explosion. And my gran was injured and his friend tragically passed away. And he suffered a period of time with some type of PTSD. Well, he recovered from that enough such that he went back and joined the Air Force. And he actually trained here in San Antonio. But that's part of his legacy. I thank veterans for their service, whether they're stateside or serving abroad, whether they're in combat or non-combat. Everybody works together as a team, and so I appreciate everyone who puts on the uniform and suffers personal sacrifice for the good of our nation, United States of America. I also wanted to talk about just some small part of my legacy. Something that you're going to remember about me is that every November I shave my chin hair and grow out my mustache. This is for Movember, Movember. And it's supposed to be where you grow a mustache. That's why they call it Movember in November. And you can start your mustache from scratch. Some people call it No Shave November. But it's supposed to bring awareness to men's health, because usually men are the only ones that grow hair on their face. And the awareness they want to bring is to prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and suicide prevention. Now, the statistics tell us that men go to the doctor less frequently than women. And even if, these are just generalizations, but this is why it came about, because of the statistics, that generally men will put off going to the doctor even if they feel sick, even if they feel tired, even if they're in pain, because that's sort of what society teaches us is don't complain, it's not that bad, nothing's wrong, just get over it. Well, we need for men to start going to the doctor, because some of these maladies, these diseases, these conditions can be cured or treated if caught early on, like prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and of course, the prevention of suicide. So if you see somebody with a big mustache like me that doesn't normally have that, that's part of their legacy. My kids are going to say, hey, do you remember when Dad used to grow that big mustache and put wax on it and try and make himself look like an old Western cowboy? Yeah, that's part of my legacy. And I'm raising money for that. If you want to donate, just go to Facebook and I'll send you a link. So this is Talk Law Radio. I've been talking to you about what it's like to go to an estate planning consultation. Tune in Saturday mornings at 11, Sunday afternoons at 4:30. Podcasts everywhere, Facebook and YouTube.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Most families don't realize they have hidden legal blind spots until it's too late. Wills, trusts, Medicaid planning, even protecting a business. These are the kinds of issues attorney Todd Marquardt helps uncover before they become problems. Todd is the host of Talk Law Radio, where each week he guides listeners through the legal challenges families, veterans, and business owners face, while showing them the practical steps to protect what matters most. Catch Talk Law Radio, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, 6:30 a.m. The Word, and now in Houston on AM 1070 and 103.3 FM The Answer, or anytime on YouTube. Planning isn't just about documents. It's about peace of mind, security for loved ones, and building a legacy that lasts. Don't wait for a crisis. Do it before you die.